exams information evening. We're going to talk through the various arrangements for the examinations in light of the COVID situation. If you have got any questions, please could you type them into the chat function, and we'll have a session at the end where we answer those questions. I'm joined tonight by Ms Pearson, our exams officer, Ms Kirkwood, who's in charge of teaching and learning at the school, and Mr Leary, who's in charge of the exams. We'll all talk a little bit about the different areas of speciality, and as I said, you'll have the opportunity to answer questions. We'll have the opportunity to answer any questions that you might raise at the end. If I could just ask Sean to share the screen now, please. The aim of this evening's session is to provide you with some information in light of the recent changes as a result of COVID-19. And also just to highlight the need for you to be aware that updates will be coming out on exam changes and arrangements via email, ePraise and the school website. So what does it mean for exams in the time of COVID-19? Well, what do we know? So the announcements this week have just made sure that the requirements of exams have changed. So this may mean that some units have become optional. Some subjects might have a reduced content, and the nature of assessments in some subjects has been changed. We've sent out specific details today, but we'll also put those on the website. So those should arrive in the post over the next couple of days. Interestingly enough, GCSE exams will run from the 7th of June until the 2nd of July in almost all subjects. Quite a strange one, that one. My feeling is that the 2nd of July will be the last day, but there are going to be at least one English and one maths exam prior to the May half term. GCSE results day this year will be Friday, the 27th of August. So therefore, please do not book any holidays in the UK or abroad without knowing the exams timetable. Once we have that, we will communicate that to you as soon as we have it. That will be sent out via ePraise and email and by post as well, as a copy being given to your son or your daughter. What do we not know? Well, we don't know what will happen to the exams and the GCSE grading if there is another extended period of lockdown. And as yet, we do not know what the contingency plans look like, just in case there is another extended period of lockdown. What do we feel, however? Well, we feel that mocks and the RAP test will be extremely important, particularly if there's another period of extended lockdown. There are talks in the government of rigorous mocks, which I'm not too worried about because we do that in any case. But what it does mean is that the mocks must be taken seriously this year. We'll have two bites at the cherry because we've got the December mocks, but also the core mocks in March. And I really can't emphasise just how important that is, because if the government decide that the mocks are going to be the benchmark, then students have to take these seriously and get the best grade possible. So why are they important? Well, we will rely on all the data that we have to come to our final assessment on the results. So last year, centre assessed grades were to be produced. These were what schools were asked to provide for the GCSE and A-level results this year. This could happen again. Now, we will base those grades on the available data from the mocks, from RAP tests, from classwork, and also ATLs. Now, as with last year, I'll be very clear in telling the staff not to inflate the grades. And I'm just going to talk through our process for awarding the centre assessed grades over the next few slides. Now, we use data drop 2 as the basis for the exam results. Historically, this has been the data that's been closest to the final GCSE results. We wanted to ensure parity and fairness, and therefore it was best to use the assessed work and school work completed before the shutdown. Students were then ranked according to their proximity to their grade, according to the CISRA measure of subject progress index. Now, CISRA is our data analysis system which we use for analysing our exam results, assessments, ATLs and attendance. Thousands of schools in England use CISRA, and the schools agree to collaborate on the data, which then enables us to have an accurate picture of the national exam results. So basically, what we're doing there is we're measuring our students against the majority of other students in the country. So that gives us an accurate idea of where they are and how they've performed. The data was then entered for each student by their individual subject teachers. And it's important to note that subject teachers were only able to see the grades entered for their subject. This further safeguarded the integrity of the data because there was no unconscious bias in awarding the centre assessed grades. In other words, staff could not look across and see how candidate A had done in the range of their subjects. The initially ranked spreadsheets were then produced by the school. They were then analysed and discussed with the heads of subject, and the ranking decided upon with any changes being made as deemed necessary. The head of subject would then discuss it with the faculty head, and any changes being made, again, as deemed necessary. The faculty head would then discuss that with their senior leadership team line manager, and any changes were made. As a senior leadership team, we then discussed the grades. Because we've known the students, we would suggest any changes, and then there was pretty much the final grades. In addition to these measures, the data was then further moderated and checked against the school's previous performance by using the Fisher Family Trust data, which again is another national database of school performance which is used by the government. And then I had one final look at it, signing off the results, having carried out a final check of the data. Where there were potential conflicts of interest, so if staff members had relations during the exams, these were highlighted early in the process, and they were managed by being checked by the senior staff at every stage in the process. So, why did we do it that way in such a long way? Well, we feel that that was a fair and rigorous process and ensured the data had integrity. We feel that it helps us to hold up to any external scrutiny, and that students were in the correct course, and that the sixth forms and colleges could trust the grades. There were only two grounds for being able to appeal against your centre assessed grade. One was mistakes when submitting centre assessed grades to the exam board, and two, where there were concerns about malpractice, including bias or discrimination. It's important to note that you could not appeal because you disagreed with the results. And so there were only those two grounds for appeal. As I said, mistakes when entering the data or concerns about bias or discrimination. So I wanted to sort of give a real life scenario. So for example, we might have had student A who didn't get the grade in a subject that was key to accessing their chosen course. In the December mock, for example, they scored a grade 2. In the March mock, they scored a grade 3. RAP tests, they performed at grade 3 throughout. Now, our average difference for the school in grades from the December mock to the final GCSEs is approximately 1 grade. Therefore, based on all that data, we could not award a grade 4 as the evidence that we had did not support it. So this is very, very important to emphasise that the students must take their mock exams very, very seriously, because we want to be able to award the best possible grades if it comes to that. One or two people said, well, why didn't you just bump the grades up a little bit? Well, we feel that we've got every member of the staff has got a strong moral purpose about the job, and if we bumped up the grades, that would have undermined our moral purpose and in fact, our moral authority. We didn't want to compromise our integrity, and we didn't want to compromise our integrity amongst other local institutions. And looking at it in the medium term, it may have placed students in the wrong institution, of course, for their immediate requirements, further damaging their life chances. So that's a very brief outline of a little bit of context of where we're at. And Ms. Pearson is now going to talk a bit more practically about what it means for the exams this year.
Okay, so good evening, thank you for joining us this evening. I'm just going to do a quick overview with regards to sitting your exams and how you go through that. So, as per usual, from year 7, you will have already sat exams from year 7 to 9 under JCQ regulations, which we have to make sure are adhered to, again, to uphold the integrity of the exam you sit in. This year, there aren't major changes with the way that they are conducted. It's just the public health guidelines around those around the exam themselves that I just wanted to clarify for everybody today. So seating arrangements would be as normal in the exam hall, with the seats will always be at least 1.25 metres apart, and you will only ever be in your year 11 bubble. If there were any exams of year 10s that would take place at the same time, which does happen, we will not sit any other year groups in the exam hall at the same time. You'll also see that seats might be empty where they would normally be students sat. We're just making more space for invigilators around the room to be able to make sure that they're safe and secure, because at all times they must have a 2-metre distance from your students. So within the exams themselves, just to confirm how we've always run them before, just to reiterate, because year 10 was a special year that we missed, because in year 10 we tend to compound the information and make sure that you're learning from year 7 to year 9 in the exam hall themselves is stricter than ever. So as you increase with strictness through to year 11. So invigilators are all employed by Bannervallen, but they're all there to make sure that you're okay. Make sure that you behave respectfully towards them, and make sure that you follow their instructions at all time, and make sure the JCQ regulations are followed. So just to reiterate, as we've always done from year 7 to 9, you must not have your mobile phone or your smartphone or any other unauthorised material with you at all as you enter the exam room. So you mustn't enter the exam room with your phone in your pocket, your smartwatch on. It must all be removed before you come through the door. You must always remain silent at all times, and if you must speak to an invigilator, you put your arms straight up in the air. Don't have a little natter with someone next door because you can't quite remember what we're doing. Put your hands up and then we'll come and answer your questions. The invigilators, like I said, will stay socially distanced at all times, and normally they will probably stand in front of you to speak to you, but under new public health guidelines, they're more likely to stand at the side of you or slightly behind you while they communicate with you. So you just need to make sure you speak clearly to them. You just need to make sure that you don't attempt to communicate or disturb any other students in the room, to make sure that if you do need to speak to us, you put our hands up, you don't try to communicate with anyone next to you or around the room, etc. from there. Any students at all during mocks, if you do have any disruptive behaviour or any unacceptable manner of behaviour towards each other or your peers around you, then you will be removed from the examination rooms, and therefore your paper may not be marked. So just to reiterate, so JCQ this year are stamping down again further on mobile phones and smartwatches. All the posters this year have been updated in relation to that, so they will look slightly differently this year than any other year that you've seen them around school. And the same with regards to warnings to candidates. So again, it's just to reiterate, to make sure that you don't take your mobile phone or any other information into the exam hall with you, and you must not talk to anyone around you. Just in case you haven't got my message about mobile phones and smartwatches, please don't bring them into the room for you. Mock exams are a great way of practicing this, but if you did bring it into an exam and it was a real exam that you were due to sit, then technically you would not get that paper marked for your exam. So we're just going to talk a little bit about equipment in the room. Normally, as you'll be aware from Year 7, and when you've taken them, we do have equipment in the room for you to borrow, but under COVID restrictions at the moment, we will not have equipment to borrow. It will be emergency equipment only, so we would expect you to bring equipment with you. So the equipment that you need to be prepared to bring into the room with you in a clear pencil case only would be roughly, I would advise you to bring 2 pens just in case one runs out, 2 pencils so you don't have to mess about sharpening your pencil, a highlighter pen, a ruler, an eraser, pencil sharpener if you needed, a compass, protractor and a calculator. But I just would like to reiterate, a calculator with no lid. Do not bring any lids into the exam hall, and just make sure they're all clearly in there marked for you. Now, any equipment that you would need would be available on ePraise or on Parent Pay, and we can make sure we get these in for you in time for your mock exams to come through. If you have any questions at all about how the exams are to be run, or you have any queries at all, please don't hesitate to call or send me an email. I'll be quite happy to speak to you at any time at all. And we'll just pass over to the script.
Good evening. I want to just offer a little bit of guidance for parents really about what good revision should look like. Hopefully revision's already started and you start to see that happening in the home. Students should be working outside of school as well as completing classwork, and it's really just to talk about what we can equip you with to kind of support you with supporting them essentially. In the mail out that Mr. Edgar has already referenced, a copy of this document has been included. I don't expect you to be able to read all that from the screen. I'll take it down. So a hard copy of this document has gone in the mail out that's gone out of school today, and that should arrive with you over the next few days. It's a 2-sided document, and it covers revision top tips as well as subject by subject tips about what students need to be doing. You might look at that and think, I've seen that somewhere before. Those of you that were able to join us for our Year 10 revision evening will have seen a document that looked very similar. This one's actually been revised and updated in light of the changes that have been made that have come through from various of the exam boards. So it is properly up to date, and it's also been published on the website so that you can access it through there as well if you need an additional copy or need to know how to get hold of that. I'm hoping that no student in Year 11 at Bannervan will be asking the question about when should revision start, because we've always spoken to them about little and often. We've spoken to them about that happening really from the onset of their GCSE or BTEC study, which has been Year 9 for the students that we're discussing this evening. We know that you face some really common arguments. I've got lots of time, why do I need to do that now? I'm not going to remember it if I do it now. You know, want to enjoy the time now before the pressure kind of really builds to start, or, you know, we haven't finished everything in class, so there's no point going over anything. But it's really, really important to remember that we need to work hard to know that we bank things in our long-term memory, so that when we're in our high pressure, you know, high stakes situations like exams, and we appreciate that that's how they feel for a great number of students, we can actually access the information that we need to be able to answer questions and progress effectively. So what does that mean? Essentially, and these are reminders of things that we've already stated to yourselves and also to the young people that we're talking about. Regularly reviewing the work is very, very important. That means going over classwork, homework. A great number of teachers are putting information on ePraise, particularly where there might be a reason that a student would miss a session or a lesson. That's being uploaded onto ePraise now. Taking any assessments seriously, and that could be anything from a quiz via ePraise to, you know, mock exams and the RAP test that we've referenced. Those RAP tests in class, those are really crucial, so we need students to be really, you know, working hard and trying their best with those. Still completing homework, because students in Year 11 still have homework. We do appreciate they have to balance homework with revision and find a good balance of those to be able to make progress. Using revision techniques that we've talked about in tutor time, in class time, in all of those lessons when they are in front of the experts, getting those tips and tricks, it's really important, and really just can't emphasise enough how important it is that they take the mock exams seriously. Okay, I'll hand over to Mr. Leary.
Thank you very much. Evening, everyone. I'd just like to preface what I'm going to say with "in a normal year," because this is a little bit of an unusual year, to say the least. The Year 11's done fantastically well so far. They're attending school, they're behaving, they're working hard in the lessons, and also thank you yourselves for attending this Year 11 revision evening, where we're giving you some pointers. So when you do ask some questions at the end, sometimes I might say, I don't know yet. So please bear with us on that. Firstly, revision sessions. Normally these would have started in September time. However, we will be starting these after the October half term. They will take place at lunchtimes, and there will also be some sessions after school. We will send out a timetable to you when that's finalised. Please bear with us on this. There may be times when a member of staff has to isolate, and we may have to call it at short notice, particularly if it's a member of staff who's running a session, they're a one-man band. Also, if you are there for the full session. There's no dipping in and out. It will be a short period of time, usually while about 4:45, 4:30, and then you'll need to make the most of that time, because of course we'll have to get the classrooms and make sure they're clean, ready for the next full school day. I can't emphasise enough what my colleagues have already said about the mock exams. Normally we would stand up and say it's just in case you have a broken arm, broken leg, and you can't sit the exams. It's the real deal. We really could be relying on these mock exams, so please, please, please give them your very best shot. Later on in the year, apologies. There we go. Later on in the year, we do what's called stop the clock interviews. Now, those of you who've had older siblings, we've invited in parents, and this is not a session where we talk about exam results. This is where we talk about the next steps, going to college, where you would like to apply, whether that's sixth form apprenticeship. We are intending to do these, and these will take place in the new year. They could be a virtual, or they could be coming into school. We don't know as of yet. Study leave. We don't have study leave at school. We've kept this for a number of years, and we like to keep the students in school, unless, of course, part of the exams procedure that we have to do might mean that the students may have to go off-site. But at the moment, we have no study leave. We also run some revision sessions just before the exams. Sometimes these are in the morning or the afternoon. These are a bit like a prep session just to get the students ready, and that's the slide I accidentally clicked on earlier. Some of you may know about our SAS sessions. These have been very successful, and last year's was the best attended ever, and then they never sat the exams. So the year we are intending to do the SAS sessions, we won't be able to do them in the past where we've had the sixth formers from QEGs come down and do the actual coaching. So that peer-to-peer interaction, which is so important, we can't do because we're maintaining the bubbles. So it will be slightly different. It will still be after Christmas. And when we know and we get it finalised, we will get that out to you. But those are very, very valid sessions to attend. We also like to make it a little bit more relaxing when they come to their exams. There are young people, and they are about to go off into that world of work, whatever that is, whether that be college, the next steps into work, apprenticeships. So before the exams, we try and just make it a little bit more civil. Exams, a little breakfast before they start, teas and coffees when they're finished, just to make it a little bit more relaxing. People can talk about it. We don't hassle them to get back to class, although sometimes they may be going back to a revision session. It's important they have that little wind down after they've done their exams. As I mentioned earlier on, this is a revision slide. So this is what a typical week may look like for your son or daughter. The exams there are highlighted, and then what we would have a revision session. It would say the time when the exams take place, revision session beforehand, and as you can see, some of the exams are slightly shorter or slightly longer. If the exams do run into the school break time, we do make arrangements for that. And again, as you see, there is times to have some teas and coffees afterwards. Normally the students would then go off and then they would have a simple revision session either as a group or in individual sessions, and we find that that's one of the reasons we don't have study leave and we keep people within the school. Things you can be doing already. Not only did we use this in lockdown, but a third of the grade of the students who used it in 2019, they actually got above their targets. It is a great resource. We do use Active Learn for things like science and Hegarty Maths. Those are great for those particular subjects, but the rest of the subjects really find GCSE Pod very, very useful. Its content is put there by teachers and examiners, but the design and the development of it is by IT specialists and also behavioural scientists. So it's short and it's sharp, and the other important thing is it's been running for a long time, it's very successful, and you can work on it offline as well. Now, many people have used that, and it's a very successful program. If ever you do have a problem with GCSE Pod, please get in touch with us there. It's a simple reset mainly on people's passwords. You can also work on it offline as well as online, and it's quite a good thing for students to have the little app on their phone. One of the things we will be doing in their phone time, we will be doing some revision sessions. So this will go very simply towards the running for the mock exams, which start on the 30th of November. So one of the first things we'll get the students to do is to actually create a revision timetable, or showing the revision timetable that we're doing already. We will use things like mind maps for them to concentrate and get their knowledge together. We will still go over things like note taking, even though we've done this time and time again. The students are developing all the time, and obviously people will be needing to take as many notes as possible. Flashcards, fishbones, post-it note activities, things that work. And then the big thing is for the students to choose what will work for them depending on those particular subjects. If for any reason you lose your GCSE Pod account, this is what it looks like. So if you need to log in, your son and daughter need to set one up from home, that's what it looks like. GCSE Pod, there's a link on the website. This is the page that you would see, and you simply click on there. Again, if you do have any troubles, get in touch with us at school and mark it for GCSE Pod, and then it will come through to me or our colleagues in IT, and we'll be able to help you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Now, I just want to sort of finish off by looking at a few statistics and just emphasising a few more points. Naturally, we only have the information for 2019, but I just wanted to talk about this. Some of you may be familiar with this. So if your attendance is 95% plus, then you're just over a grade above target. Less than that, and you're 1.5 grades below. So please make every attempt to come into school. Obviously, we have the current situation. We need to be aware of that. But lessons, if you're absent for any reason, lessons will be on the e-praise. One thing I forgot to mention there, this the high attendance and the grade correlated in the 2020 centre assessed grades as well. Just to re-emphasise that, if you're absent for any reason, the classwork and homework will be on e-praise. As Mr. Leary said earlier, the GCSE Pod users, they were on average a third of the grade above target, which is very useful if you're right on that borderline area. The SES sessions mattered as well. Again, those that were regular attenders had half a grade. Those who didn't attend were a grade below target. So, if you work with us, you get what you deserve. If you don't work with us, unfortunately, you get what you deserve. So we've laid out very, very briefly some of the offer that we have and the support that you'll be given. If you do that work and you put in the effort just now, do the revision, then you will do very well. I've just put up some books on there which may help you through this time. One is by Matthew Syed, the Times columnist and former international table tennis player. The one, Boys Don't Try, is written primarily for schools, but contains quite a lot of useful information. And the quite worrying one is the Inventing Ourselves, The Secret Life of the Teenage Brain, which explains quite a lot of things. Again, I just want to emphasise the support that is on offer. We'll be doing revision sessions where we can in the holidays, hopefully starting in the February half term. They'll be after school, they'll be at lunchtime, and they'll be on Saturday mornings after Christmas. We will publish a list of the revision guides and their ISBN numbers on the website. We have found over the last couple of years it's better to get them on Amazon because you'll get a bigger discount, you'll get quicker delivery. But not only that, but it'll have links to specific revision support as well that you can purchase. So what people purchased after they purchased that item. So links to those flashcards and other materials as well. Mr. Leary's already mentioned that you've got the online support from Hegarty Maths. Any problems, see Mr. White. Active Learn is our science package, so if you speak to Mr. Billinghurst about that, and GCSE Pod, Mr. Leary is the man to speak to about that. And I always sort of finish up with this, nobody regrets a good set of, so they will stand you in good stead throughout the rest of your life. So hopefully we'll have some questions. Mr. Bateman is just going to unshare the screen, so you're going to see us, and hopefully we'll get the chat function up as well, and we will go through that. There we are, in all our glory. Van Valem's version of ABBA. Okay, have we any questions? Any coming up, Sean?
No, not yet.
Right. Okay. Well, we've either pounded you into submission, but if you have any questions, please email us at admin@Banavalemschool. And thank you very much for your attendance this evening. This will be We're recording this and it will be on the school's YouTube channel as soon as we can get it edited. But thank you very much for attending. I hope you go on and have a nice evening. And again, a reminder, any questions, please put them on admin@Banavalemschool and we'll try and answer those in due course. Thank you very much indeed and good evening.